I started getting online and finding different researchers, and back then there wasn't a lot of books written.
Right.
There's a lot of books. There's 4 books that we've kind of dug into on the subject.
And also, internet is what it is now.
Yeah, but even in 2013.
Yeah, I mean, people are so short-sighted to...
quite a bit. You could find the newspaper articles.
You could.
And some of the stuff that we're going to get into. So, but that was through like Jim Vieira. He had we're going to talk about his book, but he had a Facebook page and he was just posting. And then he had a show in 2014, The Lost Giants on the History Channel. And so in 2013, I came across him and his Facebook page where he's, Antiquarian, excerpts from these journals, the American Antiquarian,
so that starts opening
Oriental
up
Journal,
your radar a
and
little
the
more
newspaper
too.
articles was just like, whoa, hold on a second. There's people writing about like 300 accounts
this
just
isn't
in
just
Ohio?
like tales passed down over time, word of mouth, or like a little fairy tale here or there, like old wives' tale. But So do you want the sources for today?
Well, but Jim Vieira was like the got a hold of the newspaper articles, and then I came across Ross Hamilton, and I've come to find out Ross's book,
Tradition of Giants: The Elite Social Hierarchy of American Prehistory.
Yeah, so Ross, I actually met him a few times at some events at Serpent Mound and different things. He's a super interesting researcher. He writes these sort of research documents, research journals, and he has this particular book, but he also does work with archaeoastronomy. That's the Serpent Mound and different mounds and the alignments of celestial bodies, and movements of the sun and moon, and so he's kind of like the OG of the giant researchers, if you will. So a lot of these guys talk about Ross in their books. And from what I understand, Ross is actually a mentor of Jim Vieira and Hugh Newman and some of those guys on the subject.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
Giants on Record, America's Hidden History, Secrets in the Mounds and the Smithsonian Files by Jim Vieira and Hugh Newman. That's a really good read, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they all have a lot of accounts. Some of them have some of the similar accounts or the bigger accounts, just like you'd expect.
Yeah.
But when you start looking, also the photography that's included, too. There's, a lot of clip art and
old
photos.
Sketches and photos and
it's
drawings.
Tough to deny all of these, accounts. But, that's a great book, too. The one that I read probably the most or dug into first was The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America, The Missing Skeletons and the Great Smithsonian Cover-Up by Richard J. Dewhurst. That was a pretty good read, too. That had a lot of just dense accounts of not just like, oh, there was a giant found, yada, yada.
Yeah.
These aren't little 2 or 3 sentence blurbs. There's a lot of real digging into it, not to be too punish.
And they all do a good job of kind of giving a base of like the historical accounts.
Right.
And we'll get into some of those because there's some names that we're going to talk about that you would not expect to be talking about.
Right.
Actually seeing physical giants way back in the day.
Right.
And Richard Dewhurst, he's been on Cliff Dunning's Earth Ancients podcast a few times. He's just an interesting character, hilarious dude.
Oh, yeah.
I would, first of all, I'd love to have any of these guys on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
At any time.
We've got a lot of questions.
Yeah, we're just a little show, but
we try.
We want to talk to you.
Believe it or not, we try really hard. This has all been worked over in the last week here and updated the
Brozone
setting here.
Studio is fully updated, painting, rehanging art, resetting complete kind of set deck,
doing some lighting work.
Yeah,
it's coming together. But anybody that would love to come on the show, we'd love to have you. The other referenced book that we have, but we didn't get too deep into actually fitting this into the script and topic tonight, was Ages of the Giants by Jason Jarrell and Sarah Farmer. And Mike, you've probably dug into that a little more and have a little more in-depth point of view on it.
I hadn't had that book for too long, so we got a kind of a late start on that one. I mean, there's just so much information.
This happens every time we do an episode.
It's crazy. I mean, this one's overwhelming, though.
I know, but we should learn from the Mothman alone that we're like, it's just the Mothman. But every time, maybe the Loveland Frogman wasn't that deep of a story.
That was a little bit of a blip. Well, that brings up to the American Antiquarian and Oriental Journal, Volume 9. Now, this is just one of the volumes that I found. And by the way, you can get this book for free on Google Books, and a lot of these old antiquarian journals are available in PDF form. And so I typed in the American Antiquarian, and then within that book, you can search terms.
Or subjects or topics or whatever.
So I just typed in giant skeletons in Google Books, and it brought me to this American Antiquarian Oriental Journal, Volume 9.
Okay.
And so we'll talk about that. We got a couple excerpts from there. And then our buddy Jeffrey Wilson, we had I had a good phone call with him. Then you guys were on one also. And so he enlightened us on, kind of gave us some perspective in a way.
Yeah.
We interviewed Jeffrey in August of 2018 at an event at Serpent Mound where he was giving a talk on the Peabody Museum artifacts and his research from the Putnam excavation of the Serpent Mound in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
Very knowledgeable guy, super nice guy. And those were pretty much all our sources, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, we've got some internet, maybe links to some Columbus Dispatch articles. So we've got some other news account reports, but actual books out in the world for sale. That's what we're pulling from. So definitely check those out if you guys want to. They should be in the links for the show.
And we wanted to find out what Ohio History Connection and some of these institutions thought about the subject of mounds, and there wasn't really a whole lot other than just saying there's a couple of Columbus Dispatch articles that we found written by Dr. Bradley Lepper from the Ohio History Connection. And I've never met Brad Lepper,
nope.
But he's done amazing work on Newark earthwork. I mean, he has done a lot of great work here in Ohio, and so we'll get into kind of their stance, the academic stance on the subject.